Hey everybody, Ben here for the Bonehead podcast and welcome to the monthly meta. Every month we get together and we have a look at two things in competitive Blood Bowl. What's legal and what's lethal. First of all, we have a look at what's available for Blood Bowl right now. So if you're just starting out, you're just coming back, you're going to start going to tournaments, you're going to start joining a league, which rules are available, what you need to know, and then better than that, what else there is as well for you to add to your games, to explore, to really enjoy, because more Blood Bowl is more better. And the second thing we look at is what's lethal. Which teams are doing the best at tournaments, which teams are the most popular at tournaments, and we have a look at the NAF stats to kind of figure out what the ebb and flow of the meta is at the moment. But first things first, let's jump in to what's legal. And the best place to start is what's new in Blood Bowl, and it is the Gnome team. So if you're just returning, if you know about Blood Bowl, if you want to know what is going on in Blood Bowl Town at the moment, Gnomes, brand new team, the 30th team in Blood Bowl, if you include Slann, is here, and it is another stunty team, and it is a stunty team without dodge. They've got wrestle and jump up instead of dodge. Basically they're kind of similar-ish to halflings, except without big change and some great positionals. You've got a fox, you've got guard little dudes, you've got the tricksters, which have this really interesting sidestep ability. They are a really fun team. They are really different. They've got a very similar stat block to the halfling team, but the skills and the way they play, I don't think could be more different. Now on top of that, they've got a couple of stars. They've got Rodney Roachbait, who is a little gnome fisherman who can yoink the ball off the ground when he activates. That is pretty awesome. He's also got a great suite of skills on the ball. Diving, catch and catch means that he's a very effective punt returner, on the kickoff returner, basically. A ball collector at the backfield. And then you've got Rowana Forestfoot. Rowana, I know, I keep saying Rowana, who is kind of similar in a design aspect and a role aspect to old Sheep Boy from the halfling team, Rumbelow, Sheepskin. But she's got this awesome leap special ability that just once per game on a 3+ with a reroll, she can leap into anywhere, ignoring all tackle zones, ignoring everything, and you just get a really great shot at just bamfing into a cage and having a hit on the ball carrier. Really cool couple of star players who can also play for halflings. So Rodney and Rowana, I don't know if you'll see them in halflings all the time. Rodney, you might. 70k is an absolute steal for all those kind of ball handling skills in the backfield. Could be really, really useful. Rowana, I don't think she gives you quite as enough as Rumbelow, but in the way star players are, it's still really, really, really cool. Now, the Gnomes team is beautifully sculpted, beautifully delivered, really good fun. And I will say, if you're watching this, you probably already know, but recently we've been crushing a ton of live games with Gnomes. So if you want to see how they play, you want to see how Rodney plays, how Rowana plays, then actually just go look at our live videos from Monday Night Blood Bowl. You will be able to see how the team plays. You'll be able to make, hopefully, use of some of the mistakes that we made by playing them, so that you won't have to make them. But that is what's new in Blood Bowl. As for what's coming up next, look, we just got a brand new team. Last year, we got one team in Blood Bowl. I am optimistic that we will get at least 2 teams in Blood Bowl. It's May. We're due the FAQ at some point this month. Otherwise, I think we're probably all right for a couple of months with no big releases. And then, here's to another team. Okay, so what's legal? What do you need to know about in Blood Bowl? Now, the great thing here is if you go to Games Workshop and you buy one of the Games Workshop teams, you will get the rules for that team in the box. If you went and bought the new Gnome team, you would get the roster and the special rules for that team in the box. If you went and bought one of the new star players, you would get the star player stuff in the blister pack. And Games Workshop have got a big download section where you can get the rules for most of the star players online. So no matter what team you're starting out with, you can probably get the star player rules at Games Workshop. The rules probably come in the team box. And then before we go anywhere, I just want to say, if you've got tour play or access to one of our roster builders from our tournaments over on our website, or BB rosters or something, there is a ton of resources. So if you want to know how to play, that's not fair. If you want to know the rules for your team, you will easily be able to get access to them. We cover them on videos, but you'll be able to get them all online anyway. So you don't need to worry about that. What you do need to worry about is having the rule book, because it's very important to have the rule book. And when you have the rulebook, it is also very important to know that Games Workshop drop an FAQ every May and every November. It's an FAQ, it's an errata, it's a designer's commentary. There's not a huge amount of changes in there, but they do clarify some rules, and in some cases they do change some of the rules to make the player experience a bit better, a bit more balanced. So definitely worth picking up and reading through the FAQ, ready for if you're going to a tournament or into a league, because you don't want to be caught out. Otherwise, you need the rulebook to play the game, and the FAQ, and the rules for your team, which I said are freely available online. You're kind of good to go. But there's a few other things you can pick up. There's 2 Blood Bowl almanacs. We didn't get one last year, but they cover basically all the releases for that year, so including the rules for the teams that were released in that year, and then you've got some special rules in there as well from White Dwarf articles and things like that. You don't need the almanacs, but they are great to have to keep everything from Blood Bowl in one place together. And then there's my favourite thing in Blood Bowl, which are the Spike magazines. Spike 16 is names. Spike 16 is names. So when a team gets released, Games Workshop will release a Spike magazine. It is a small 30 to 40 page book, and it is fantastic. You get the team roster, sure. You get the star player rules for that team. You get some special league rules for that team, normally some special inducements, a bunch of background as well, some helpful setup and team development guides, although if you want those for Blood Bowl, channel's basically where you want to be. They're great fun. I love Spike magazines. I will just regularly just flick through them when I got a few minutes, because it's a really nice way to settle yourself into the world of Blood Bowl. There's not a ton of lore being kicked out for Blood Bowl. There's not a ton of Black Library books or big campaign novels or anything like that. What you get is a little kind of mini book that just keeps you up to date with Blood Bowl, and the Spike magazines are great. You absolutely, categorically don't need them. Don't worry about them if you're just coming into Blood Bowl. But if you like Blood Bowl, they're fantastic. You get a cool cartoon at the back, you get a ton of fluff and theme, and it's just really good. If you like Blood Bowl, you will probably like sitting down and reading a Spike magazine. It doesn't take a huge amount of time, and I think we went through the Spike magazine on one of the podcasts, but it sets you in the world, it helps you understand the team, and I think they're fantastic. So you've got Spike magazines for all those teams there. Then, a couple of things to mention. Teams of Legend. So, High Elves, Tomb Kings, Chaos Dwarves. That's it. That's all we've got left. There's 3 teams that Games Workshop have not reimagined yet. Those are the ones we are pending. They've recently done Amazons. They've recently done Vampires. They've recently done Norse. And to be fair, I think when they reimagined those teams, they crushed it with each and every one of those iterations. But that means that there's 3 more teams available to you by downloading the Teams of Legend PDF. Put the link in below, and those teams are going to be eligible at every event. As long as you're using Games Workshop models in a Games Workshop event, you're good to go. Now, if you're playing in most tabletop leagues and most tabletop tournaments, you will probably find yourself playing against, that's not true, you'll be allowed to bring a Slann team. Slann are an old school space frog team from the 1st and 2nd editions of Blood Bowl. They went away, the community brought it back, and then when Games Workshop produced Blood Bowl 2, they put Slann in there but reskinned them as Kislev. The whole team is about jumping and leaping, and it is a ton of fun. There's some great models out there for those teams. Punga in particular, the Slann team is just absolutely excellent. Probably my favorite one out there. It's a really cool extra way to play. So if you're going to a league, you're going to a tournament, they are very infrequent, but have a look at the rules because they are a ton of fun to play, and they're just very, very, very different. Okay, so that's all the stuff you need to know about. You need the rulebook, you need to look over the FAQ, and you need to know where to find the rules for your team and your opponent's team. Then you get to the really good stuff, okay? So this is optional but fun extras. You won't necessarily see this at tournaments, and you may not even involve this in a lot of your leagues. But if you like Blood Bowl and you like the way the game plays, this is probably all going to be quite interesting to you. The Death Zone book from 2021 is an excellent piece of kit. It's got a ton of special rules. You've got rules for giants, you've got Blood Bowl 7s, and you've got a billion extra inducements, which just adds so much more depth and fun bits to the game without necessarily overpowering it. I do advise you to potentially stay away from mercenaries. The rules in there can be a little bit you can game the system a little bit, so that's why you don't see this huge amount. But look, giants at the very least are a ton of fun, so the Death Zone book is brilliant for that. Then you've got Dungeon Bowl, and as we all know, Dungeon Bowl takes the fun of Blood Bowl and puts it underground in a dungeon with wizards and teleporters and treasure chests and 8 new teams that are a conglomeration of mixed races, the college teams. Dungeon Bowl is just an absolute ton of fun. We just had our Dungeon Bowl tournament, our annual one, Dorset Dungeon Bowl. It's just madness. It is absolutely brilliant. Dungeon Bowl is a great extra way to play Blood Bowl. And then you've also got Gutter Bowl, which is another interesting and extra way to play Blood Bowl. It's kind of a cross between Blood Bowl 7s and Dungeon Bowl in that you've got terrain and walls, and you've only got 7 players. Gutter Bowl is a bit fun as well. That comes in the way of you can get a pitch, you can build your own, or you can and you can buy the book, which gives you all the rules. I think we did a stream of a Gutter Bowl game on the channel as well, so if you want to go and have a look and see how Gutter Bowl plays, it is violent. It is brutally violent, but it's pretty good fun too. I've kind of glossed over this, but in Death Zone 2021, you've got the rules for Blood Bowl 7s. Blood Bowl 7s is invariably and inarguably the best way to play Blood Bowl. It is just 45 minutes, 35 to 45 minutes a game. You've got 7 players on each side, up to 11 on your roster, 600k, basically no rerolls, basically no skills. It is just a ton of fun. And in the time you can get a standard 11s games done, you can play 2 to 3 games of 7s. So if you want to try out a team or just learn some stuff, playing 7s is brilliant. It's refreshing, it's challenging, it's frustrating, it's everything Blood Bowl is, but in 45 minutes. So wholeheartedly recommend 7s. Then a couple of things just to wrap up. We've got special play cards and pitches. They are also available. The pitches have some cool special rules. The special play cards will add some swingy narrative fun to the game. So you can flip one card and be like, boom, nothing. You can flip another card and be like, boom, a guy dies. It's quite extreme, but it's a ton of fun. So if you're playing casual games and you just want to add more layers to the game that's unfolding, they are pretty good fun. And then in Wider War 466, and also included in the Almanac number 2, are some rules for referees. So those awesome referee models you get in the starter set, they finally have rules. You can put them on the pitch, and if they can go on the pitch, they can get kicked the heck off the pitch. And can't be sent off if there's no referee. And there's a couple of unofficial extras out there that I always like to sneak in here because just more Blood Bowl is in fact more better. Mixed team rules. Check out our Bonehead Bowl rules pack. Mixed teams. It ups the power level, but it is just a whole other level of brilliance. I'm going to take half Skaven, half Dark Elves, and just have an absolutely outrageous time. I actually think it's the better way. I think it's better than standard 11s, having mixed teams. The rosters, the amount of rosters you get are bigger, the amount of interactions are bigger. It is a really interesting thing. If you're familiar with Magic the Gathering, okay, 7s is draft, exquisite. 11s is standard for a reason. And you've got the next version, the kind of more powerful, more crazy combo land. And that's where the mixed team rules come in. So I like that. If you're interested in learning more about that, check out the Bonehead Bowl rules on the website. You've got the Fumble Secret League, and this is about 80 teams that have been in development for years by the community. You've got Treeman teams, you've got Savage Orc teams, you've got Chaos teams of the other varieties. It is a retro way to play Blood Bowl in that it looks like 32-bit graphics. But it's brilliant, and those games you can just log on and play online with now. So if you're in the market to play Blood Bowl but with different teams, Fumble is a great way to do it, and the Secret League is going to get you inspired. Oh, Squig Team, of course. The Squig Team is there. Oh, love the Squig Team. Other variants kicking around: Street Bowl, Beach Bowl, 4-player Death Bowl. Whew, that is a challenge. 4-player Death Bowl, again, we did that last year. That was a lot of fun. Of these ones, Street Bowl is excellent. It's Blood Bowl 7s, but where 7s has like a wider, shorter pitch, Street Bowl is played with just the middle 7 squares along the pitch. It is violent and it is quick, and actually it is my favourite variant of the unofficial variants now. So huge fan of that, really worth checking out. Before we delve into the stats for the last month, ways to play Blood Bowl. You've got the proper way, tabletop. You've got Fumble, which I've already talked about. It will take all the correct up-to-date rules and you will be able to play it. It's 32-bit graphics, but I mean, I find that charming. It's a really good way to get a game of Blood Bowl in against anybody in the world. They've got a great set of leagues. It's just a really well done system. Blood Bowl 3 is a microcosm of Blood Bowl. There's only 14, 15 teams out there, and the system's not exactly representative of the way the rules work. It's not far off, and it is a lot of fun, and it looks really good. So Blood Bowl 3 is getting to the point where it's worth getting now. You are giving up a ton of teams. There are a ton of teams that are not available in Blood Bowl 3, which means that the online meta is significantly warped. But hey, Blood Bowl is Blood Bowl. You go to your league, you got 17 people in the league. That's only 17 out of 29 teams, 30 teams that are going to be in there. So your meta's going to be warped no matter what you're playing in. It's an interesting one. I like Blood Bowl 3. I need to play some more Blood Bowl 3 actually. And then you've got classic rules, Blood Bowl 2 and Blood Bowl 2016 if you want to play Blood Bowl the way it used to be before now. Okay, but the correct way to play is tabletop. And a really great way to play tabletop games is to go to tournaments. So let's have a look at what's lethal in tournaments at the moment. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is have a look at the last period, and that is between our last monthly meta, which I think was about a month ago, to now. And we will look to see two things: the most winning teams and the most popular teams. We're going to start with the most winning teams in the last month, so you can kind of get your hands on what's being effective in the meta at the moment, and also give you a bit of a benchmark as to how well your favorite team is performing currently. Now remember, these stats are over the last month. They are not all time. We will do an all-time check-in at halfway through the year, but they'll give you a good benchmark of how successful or not successful the team's been doing compared to recently. And coming in at number 30, we've got the brand new competitor with 22 games ranked in the NAF. It is Gnomes, tier 3, 30% win rate. Look, it's the first time this team's out, and I'm pretty sure these games were played before the team was even available to buy. So your mileage may vary, and hopefully Gnomes will get a boost up, because I personally think that they are significantly better than 30%, especially in a tournament setting where you can get some skills. And in fact, if you watched Monday Night Blood Bowl last week, I think you'll find that well, we're right. Give Gnomes some skills, and it gets a very, very competitive environment. So Goblins have not moved off what used to be the old bottom at 29th. Goblins have stayed there. Dwarves, however, have tanked it. They've dropped 11 spots in the last month, down to 28. 44% win rate, 366 games played, so a ton of games played. These guys are all sitting outside of that Goldilocks zone, that comp zone of 45 to 55%. Outside of that, you've got a bit of a problem. Dwarves over the last month have absolutely tanked it. And there's a few other teams as well. Tomb Kings have dropped 16 spots. Tomb Kings, one of the last remaining teams of legend, have performed outrageously well this entire edition. They have massively overperformed expectations. But the last couple of months, we've seen them decline. They were in the top 5, then they dropped to the top half. Now they are bottom 5 over the last month. That is the biggest decline I've seen from a team in a while. And that's not very good. And the last team to be sitting outside the Goldilocks zone is Ogres. They've dropped 1 spot down to 26th with 44% win rate. Ogres, Goblins, and Gnomes are all tier 3 teams. Tier 3 teams can be challenging. And one thing that we're seeing at the moment in the way tournaments are being run, even in ours, is that the cap and the tax for running a star player in your roster is getting more and more costly. So we're seeing the meta shift to kind of align with teams that can run as teams themselves and not necessarily lean too hard on star players. That's why I think it's interesting that Dwarves have taken a bit of a hit, because Dwarves don't need many skills. Tomb Kings actually have done really well leaning on Cheney in some places as well, and especially with the most recent Vampire releases. I mean, I really do like Tomb Kings if you can fit Katrina in there, or even Ivan the Death Shroud. Like, there's some really good stars, so it's interesting to see Tomb Kings take that big of a swing. But where Tomb Kings are not the most available team, as you can see there, 193 games, the lowest out of the top, out of the bottom. I don't think we need to read in too much. I don't think Tomb Kings are in trouble, but it's an interesting decline. Down 11 spots, we've got Norse here as well to 25th. Up 4, we've got Black Orcs. Congratulations, you're getting a bit better. We've got 45% win rate for Norse. We've got 46% win rate for Black Orcs. You've got 47% win rate for Chaos Renegades. You've dropped down a few spots actually into the bottom 10 now, which is unusual. Renegades have done well in the middle zone. Norse have done well in the top half. Black Orcs have sat down at the bottom quite regularly, but it's an interesting one. I wouldn't worry too much about the Black Orcs, but they have a tough time when it comes to tournaments. They need skills and they need a little bit of star power They don't have a lot of access to stars, and at the moment, you kind of don't have a lot of skills either, so it's a tough one. Khorne staying put at 22 and 48% win rate. And Halflings outperforming the rest of the stunties, going up 6 spots to 21, 48% win rate, puts them very close to the middle. And talking of the middle, let's have a look at the middle 10 here. In 20th place, 48%, dropping a couple of squares, we've got Lizardmen. Now, Lizardmen are a fantastic team in Blood Bowl. They're tier 1 for a reason. They are very explosive. They do need a decent amount of skills to keep up with other teams. And one other thing that we're seeing in a lot of rule set at the moment is a reduction in skill duplication. So you will see in some tournament packs the rule of 2, the rule of 3, where you can only take 2 or 3 of a skill. Lizards, you give them 7 skills, all of them are going to be block if they can take at least 1 double. Otherwise, you'll have 6 block and then probably 1 guard on the Croxigor. So Lizards are the kind of team that do like and enjoy the repetition of skills. You don't often want to put anything on the Skink. You definitely want to put something on the Crocs and the Sauruses. And if you get a limitation of block, it does affect how strong the team can be. So there's definitely a bit of a shift to that, but they're still round about the middle point. 49% win rate teams now at 19th, down 9 spots. We've got Skaven. We'll come back to that. Down 3 spots. We've got Orcs, and up 6 spots. We've got Chaos. So the 49% team, Skaven, down from 10th to 19th. Come on, guys. 536 games. Orcs, 715 games. A ton there. Now, again, I don't think... I'm actually a little bit surprised that Skaven have taken a bit of a drop there, because they're the kind of team... They don't need a huge amount. 1100, 1150, you can buy everything you want, and you give them any number of skills, there's always something great to do with skills in Skaven. So... on that hand, actually, at the moment, I would be expecting Skaven to start to thrive in an environment where teams are more focused on skills, not stars. I would expect to see Skaven come up a bit. Same could be true of Dwarves, though, so it's interesting. However, what I will say is, even though they've dropped 9 places, they're still at 49% win rate, which means you're winning as many games as you're losing. And actually, in Blood Bowl, that can happen with any team. Up to 50% win rate, we've got Chaos Dwarves down 8 spots, Vampires down 10 spots, and up 10 spots. We've got flipping Snotlings. I forgot about Snotlings because there was 4 stunty teams, and now there's 5, isn't there? Snotlings winning out. Absolutely fantastic. And a monstrous 50% win rate. Look, I absolutely love that. And it's really interesting to see because Snotlings are so cheap. You get this much money for your team, and then you get this much money for extras, right? So if you're in a place where you can buy a star, then it's great for Snotlings. The interesting thing here is most of the time it's like, right, you can have skills or you can have a star, which tends to hamper a lot of the other teams. Snotlings are like, I don't care. Like, I would rather have a star. What am I going to do? Give a troll a skill that he's going to really stupid and fail at anyway? I'm not going to bother giving skills to my Snotlings. Have all my skills. I'll have the stars, please. So good job, Snotlings, holding their own there. I imagine that's got a lot to do with Stab Stab being cheap enough to filter into any roster. But if you are running Morg and Stab Stab and Hackflem, do you know what? Snotlings is definitely the team for you. Up into the next spot, we got 51%, up 7 places, Imperial Nobility. It's so good to see the Nobles. This is, I think, their highest spot this entire edition. Nobles have been down there with Chaos and Black Orcs in the mid-20s, and Imperial Nobility bouncing up 7 spots is very cool to see. Up 14, we've got Nurgle as well. And then Humans up 5 spots too. So this is really weird, up to a 51% win rate recently. Nurgle and Nobility are not the kind of, they're not brilliant tournament teams because they need stuff. Nobility are good, but they need a bit of spice. Nurgle needs skills, and it's great to see coaches actually taking them and winning with them and getting them into that top spot. Humans floating around that point. Actually, they're a tier 2 team. Humans and Orcs right at the cusp of tier 1 teams. So I'm not surprised to see them there. 51% is very respectable though, but not as respectable as being in the top 10. And at 51% as well, up 2 spots this month, we've got Dark Elves. So Dark Elves are the quintessential team that doesn't want your star players. It doesn't want any of that. It just wants some skills. I would like skills. They don't need to all be the same skills. And I would like to snack them, please, because Dark Elves are the team They are a really interesting team. They have got a high ceiling in every regard. They are not the fastest team, and they take, but I think they're the team that rewards the most skill. Like, it's not hard to do well with Dark Elves because their core stat line's great, and you give them any amount of skills, they get a couple of dodge, a couple of block, and then you can add some stuff in there. They start cooking really nicely. But the more you play with Dark Elves, the more potential there is. You've got some great screen game, and at movement 7 for 6 of your players, 7, 8 of your players, if you're running runners or Amazons or assassins, they're fast enough. They are fast enough. And Edge 2+, they are shifty, and it is wicked. So in an environment where there's less stars and potentially maybe even less skills, Dark Elves doing really well there. I like that. Down 3 spots, we've got Wood Elves, 52%. Up 13, we've got 52% win rate for Slann. Space Frogs, dude, doing it. That's a brilliant amount of skills. Again, Slann's, Wood Elves, not teams that need to lean very heavily on star players. Undead have stayed put 7 for 53%. And then Elven Union down 3 spots this month at 6th place and 54% win rate. This is the list. Okay, Slann is interesting. They are overperforming. I think they belong around about 17, 18. Love to see that. But what we're looking at here is a whole bunch of teams that don't need a lot of help. They play really well at TV. 1 million. Dark Elves, Wood Elves, Undead, Elven Union, even Slann, they get enough of what you need. That's really cool. And then you've got 55%. This is the last of the teams within the Goldilocks zone, and it is Necromantic up 8 spots. 55% win rate, 535 games is a very respectable number, and it's really interesting to see when the win percentage goes up and the amount of games go up, then you know that there's some absolute magic source there. So kind of watch out for those two things. Necro, popular. Necro, powerful. Necro, one to consider playing with or definitely training against. And then we've got 4 teams over the last month that are sitting too close to the sun. We've got High Elves up 5 spots. Look, High Elves have been in the top 10 for the majority of the season. They were top 5 for the majority of the season. And they've got good armor, they've got good skills, they've got good stretch play, they've got good speed. They are a very powerful team. They're not a very popular team because they're kind of hard to get hold of models for, which means that if you're facing a high elf coach, you're facing someone who's kind of invested in tracking down that team because they want to play something different. Those kind of coaches have got some experience, and those kind of coaches can play off and do very well with a team like High Elves. And then we've got Amazons down 1 spot to number 3. So down 1 spot is a decline, but that means that for 2 versions of this video, they have been in the top 5. Amazons this season got juiced up with strength 4 player, and they got changed with the way their blitzers worked. It's a new kind of powerful. It's a less boring kind of powerful. I, for one, am very excited to see them up there. The only thing that makes me kind of sad at the moment is just how effective Drawl and Dribble are with them. They are super explosive, but tier 1, you don't get a ton of skills. And if you're taking a star, you're taking even less skills. So Drawl and Dribble and an Amazon roster, not going to see all that often. It's probably looking at 1200 TV roster to pull that off, and you're not going to get a lot of skills in there. But it's very cool to see, and I really like to see Amazons up there because, I don't know, it's a new kind of power, and I think that's pretty cool. OWA coming in at number 2, up 2 spots. OWA are the new Tomb Kings. Tomb Kings overperformed for a year, and OWA have awoken something in the coaches that are running them. Not a huge amount of games, 229, but they are consistently in the top 10 at the moment. And you can look at the roster and go, most of this is trash because you've got the loner, because you've got animosity. Well, animosity doesn't mean anything if you can counter it. And if you reduce the amount of loner players you're taking, think of OWA as the opportunity to run a human team with a Troll Slayer, maybe a Dwarf Blitzer if you want it, and then a cool star or 2. OWA will make you work for it. But they are potent. It's a really cool build, and it's great to see it performing so well. And then slowly declining, we've got 58% win rate for Underworld. They were sitting at 65 for a while. We've seen a couple of nerfs to Underworld, but they are just the champions of Blood Bowl 2020. Okay, so we've looked at what's winning at the moment. Let's see the most popular teams to see who you are going to be playing against. Down 3 spots into last place, we've got Renegades, a little bit more popular. We've got High Elves, Slann sitting there as well. Less popular this month, we've got Tomb Kings, Nurgle sitting at the bottom as well. OWA getting a little bit more popular, which is really interesting to see. So 4 spots up in the popularity ranking, and still maintaining a 57% win rate. Clearly some coaches have gone, you know what, I'm going to start taking OWA because they can do very, very well. And you know what? Very, very well they can do. Down 7 spots, Black Orcs. Down 2 spots, Ogres. And down 2 spots, Chaos. So if you're going to a tournament, it's really interesting. You want to watch the ones that are winning. High Elves, OWA. But these will be the least popular ones over the last month. But there's only 30 teams in Blood Bowl, right? I need to change that bit of the graphic because gnomes are here now. 20 to 30. Success. But these are going to be the least likely to play against. Unless, of course, you're winning, in which case, get some games in against OWA and High Elves. Middle of the table now, we've got Nobility up 4 spots, Elven Union up 3 spots, and down 3 spots, we've got Halflings. So Halflings are a little less popular at the moment, but all of these teams are kind of staying around about the same. Goblins are juicing up a bit. Snotlings are juicing up a bit. We've dropped a little bit for Khorne, a little bit up for Wood Elves, a little bit down for Chaos Dwarves. Big chunk here of 9 spots down out of the top 10 for Underworld means that even though they are still performing frustratingly well, they are a less popular team to play. And that could be a couple of things. Tournaments are now moving to put Underworld into tier 0, which gives them very, very few skills and almost no access at all to star players. So they do become less tempting to run, because what you end up bringing to a tournament is essentially just a little bit of a juiced up starting league roster. The fun thing about Underworld is that they are still fun at that level anyway, so I'm definitely thinking that's why they're a little less popular. Dwarves going up is interesting. We might see a bit of a meta shift here, because if less stars are being taken and teams are getting more skills instead, you're likely to see more dodge. And in an environment with more dodge, tackle is very useful. So you'll see a lot of those teams with blitzers move from a mighty blow blitzer to a tackle blitzer as part of default. Dwarves, even though their win percentage has tanked over the last month, I think they're gearing up for an environment and a meta where there's more dodge kicking around, in which case their integral tackle performs really well. The downside of Dwarves is they can draw, they can kill, but it only takes a couple of bad turns to lose a TD with a Dwarf team, and once they're from behind, playing from behind with Dwarves can be very, very challenging, even if you roll rushes the way I do. And onwards to the top 10, we've got Humans down 1 spot, Undead down 7 spot, a little bit less popular this time. We've got Vampires and Lizards dropping a few spots there as well. On the up now, every one of these teams, Norse are more popular, Dark Elves are more popular, up 5 spots. Necro up 2 spots. Skaven up 2 spots, up 6 spots. Amazon. So these are the teams that people are looking at and thinking the skill packages for these I can really make work. What's interesting, what's evident about these teams? Norse, Dark Elf, Necro, Skaven and Amazon, all of those teams have a pretty lovely starting roster. All of those teams, 1100, give you what you want. And all of those teams perform really well and give you a lot with not a huge amount of skills. Necro of that roster would like more skills than the other ones, but hey, you've still got 2 blockers. Well, 2 blitzers, right, with block. You've still got dodgers with your ghouls, and you've still got strength and resilience with the rest of it, and you've got those wolves. So realistically, you're just looking for a couple of skills for your werewolves there, and you can make do with everything else. Skaven, true. So all of those teams, even though you've got a variety of win percentages here, they all are a fun and capable team to play at a low TV, low skill environment. And I'm not surprised to see them be more popular. I mean, God, there's just a who's who of some of my favourite teams there. Amazon, Skaven, love them. Dark Elves, Necro, fear them. Norse. I've painted a Norse team, and I quite like the Norse team. I'm coming around to Norse, but yeah, interesting. And everybody's favourite team, Orcs. Orcs maintain their spot as being the most popular team, and somehow are doing it while staying around about 50% win rate. Absolutely wicked to see. Okay, that's the monthly meta for May 2024. Gnomes are here. The star player skill heavy tournaments are changing a little bit. Underworld are going to get canned a little bit by being pushed into tier 0 most of the time. Star player tax is going to get heavier. I think overall, this is potentially a really good thing for Blood Bowl, because what you're going to get is you're going to get teams on the pitch that have got more complexity and more skill. And that's really evident to how this entire game system has matured. I like the low end, and I like people being able to take star players. I'm very okay with people being able to take a star player and sacrifice a bunch of other stuff, because I want that player who's got human team with Griff to be able to take humans and Griff. I want them to be able to make that choice to do that, but I also want to reward the veteran who wants to take humans, but instead of taking Griff, wants to take 8 skills instead, because he knows where to put those skills and knows how to make them perform better than a human team with Griff. I think a meta that we're kind of wandering into now, where you've got the ability to do both of those things, is brilliant for the game, because that will reward the coaches that are consistent, the coaches that get the game, the coaches that know the right skills and the right ways to use them, but won't actually hinder the people who want to go for a splashy fun roster, because actually I want to play this star player and this team. I don't have a league, but I want to go on a Saturday and I want to get 3 games in with them, and I want to see how I go, and I want to go 1-1-1. And you know what? You come in, you splash, you win your first game, you draw your second one, you lose your third one. That's fine. You've got to use that model. You've got to try out that team, and I think it's brilliant. All the while just rewarding coaches that know how to use Dark Elves with 6 skills to absolute perfection. And you see this kind of leading up to NAFC, and we saw this kind of around the World Cup rule set period as well, where you get a kind of a consistency reward, a reward for being consistent with a team. And I think that's really healthy. Anyway, let me know what you think about the meta at the moment and how good you think gnomes are going to be. I think they will be 22nd going into June. I don't think they're going to get much higher than that just yet. But boy howdy, if they end up in the top 10 after the first month, I'm going to be very excited. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube Members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.